Hello, my name is David Ehrenberg. I'm the Executive Director of Arizona Tenants Union. We're at tenantsunion.net. And this is one of a series of discussions that I'm having relative to the rights that you as a tenant have under the Arizona Residential Landlord and Tenant Act. I'm doing this series of broadcasts in anticipation of our starting business, opening up doors on February 1st of 2015, this year. I've been doing this for a long time, and one of the biggest areas of complaints that I get, probably the biggest area of complaints that I've gotten over the many years that I've done tenants' rights, has been landlords wrongly withholding tenants' security deposits. It seems as if landlords just can't bring themselves to have an account with money in it that belongs to tenants that they have to return to the tenants. And they look for ways to hold the money, in effect to steal tenants' money. So it's important that you understand what your rights are with respect to recovery of your security deposit after you've left your apartment. And here is the basic principle. A landlord is entitled to withhold from your security deposit actual damages beyond normal wear and tear for which you are responsible and for which he can demonstrate that he incurred an expense in repairing. A landlord can't simply assign a dollar figure to a hole in the wall or to a tear in the carpet. He has to be able to show that he incurred an expense. If he uses his handyman to make the repairs, and his handyman is a full-time handyman, he can't show that he's incurred an expense, because if the handyman hadn't been doing those repairs, he would have been doing something else. He's on staff. And so the landlord wouldn't be able to show any damage. The purpose of the security deposit is to recompense the landlord for damage that you caused him. If there's no damage, he's not entitled to any portion of it. And of course, he's allowed to use the security deposit to recover unpaid rent. The one thing that landlords do all the time is they try to charge tenants for new appliances, new carpeting, new paint jobs when the tenant leaves the apartment, even if the tenant had caused the problem with the paint, or even if the tenant's dog peed on the carpet and damaged the carpet. All the landlord is entitled to recover is the depreciated value of the damaged item. Just as if you're in a car and you hit another car, all you're entitled to pay for is the depreciated value of the car that you hit, so is it the case that all landlord is entitled to recover is the depreciated value of the carpet. So what the landlord has to be able to show is that he actually incurred an expense. He has to be able to show what the dollar value of the expense is. Now, a landlord has to provide an accounting of the withholding of the security deposit within 14 days after a tenant gives a notice to that effect. However, the 14-day period doesn't begin until the tenant gives a notice. So when the tenant moves out of the apartment, the 14 days doesn't start accruing then. It doesn't start to accrue until the landlord receives a notice. It's important that when the tenant sends the landlord a notice, he send the landlord the notice in such a way that he can evidence that the landlord received the notice. You know, a lot of people do things by email these days. I'm old school. I do things by certified mail. The problem with the advantage of email is that it's easy to get to someone. The disadvantage is that you can't show that the other party received it unless they responded to it. Similarly, it's easy to text someone, but unless you get a response text, you can't show that the other party received it. And there's a requirement that you show that the other party received it. Certified mail is deemed delivered 5 days after it's been sent, so that if you send something by certified mail, even if the landlord doesn't sign for it, 5 days after you've sent it, it's deemed delivered. There are a lot of technicalities that are involved in the counting of days, in the measuring of damages, and in the determination whether or not the landlord is operating in good faith or not. There are provisions in the Landlord-Tenant Act that allow a tenant to recover triple damages. That is to say, the actual damages of the wrongfully withheld amount of the security deposit plus double. So that comes out to a total of triple damages. The Landlord-Tenant Act doesn't specifically require a showing that the landlord acted in bad faith, but it happens that judges do very often impose those sorts of requirements on tenants who are coming to court to recover security deposits. Similarly, depending upon the nature of the damages, the nature of other sorts of damages, there's a question of what court you want to go to. One of the problems with going to small claims court, which is what everybody sort of, that's the first court that comes into people's minds, is that small claims court isn't appealable. You can't take it to Superior Court and appeal it, whereas Justice Court is. So, on the other hand, Justice Court has a higher lower jurisdictional limit than small claims court does. One of the things that sometimes we try to do when we help tenants recover security deposits is figure out other damages that the landlord might be, the tenant might be entitled to. There are a variety of statutory damages imposed by the Landlord-Tenant Act. Sometimes you can set the landlord up to recover those damages. In short, if you're having problems recovering your security deposit, go to tenantsunion.net. That's Arizona Tenants Union. We can help you recover the security deposit. We can help you recover the damages. We can actually help you initiate litigation pro se. Now, we're not attorneys. We're not going to be able to formally represent you in court, but we can do the paperwork that would help you go forward and prosecute your case against the landlord. We strongly encourage you to be the person to get the security deposit, even if you're only talking about a couple of $100, because if you don't do it, there's no one else who will. Only you can hold the landlord responsible for his misconduct.